Welcome to this explainer, everyone. Today, we're investigating an incredibly ordinary, everyday habit that is silently triggering a cascade of health failures right inside your body. You know, when we think about improving our health, we almost obsessively focus on what we eat, maybe what supplements we're taking, or just how intensely we work out. But we completely ignore this massive, silent hazard, our resting posture. I mean, you probably don't think twice about the simple act of pulling up a chair, but by the time we finish up today, I guarantee you're going to look at your daily routine in a completely new, biologically informed light.
So, let me ask you a really immediate question. Right now, at this exact moment, are you sitting down? Just take a second to actually feel your current physical state. Notice the curve of your spine. Feel how your hips are sort of locked into that 90-degree angle. Realize that the large muscles in your legs, they are completely dormant right now. You might be slumped on a couch, huddled over a keyboard at your desk, or maybe commuting in your car. And it feels incredibly natural, right? Completely normal. But the personal stakes here are massive, and the clock is literally ticking on your internal health the longer you stay frozen in that exact position.
Now, you've probably heard this quote before, but there is a very specific reason health scientists, doctors, and researchers have coined the phrase, excessive sitting is the new smoking. And listen, they aren't just trying to be provocative or grab headlines. Just like smoking a cigarette, the damage of sitting is completely cumulative. It's totally invisible in the short term, but it is absolutely devastating over the span of a few decades. Millions of us spend the vast majority of our waking hours seated, utterly unaware of the severe cellular-level damage that's happening right beneath our skin. It's not as dramatic as a sudden injury or inhaling toxic chemicals, which is honestly exactly what makes physical stagnation so uniquely and dangerously deceptive.
To really understand why this is so destructive to our biology, we kind of have to look at our evolutionary blueprint. Human beings were designed as literal movement machines. We have an ancestral routine built entirely around continuous kinetic energy, hunting, gathering, walking miles every single day literally just to survive. Our muscles, our joints, even our metabolic pathways were completely engineered with the expectation of constant physical activity. Now contrast that ancient biology with our modern reality. We drive to work, we sit at our desks, we stream TV, we scroll on our phones for hours. We've taken a body built for perpetual motion and placed it into an environment where movement has basically been systematically engineered out of our daily lives.
All right, let's jump into section 1, the anatomical body scan. We're going to look at exactly what happens when you stop moving.
Think of your body as an incredibly complex high-performance machine. Now, when a machine is used regularly, it stays functional, it stays lubricated, but when it's left completely unused, it begins to rust and break down. The moment you sit down and get comfortable, gravity takes over, and this rapid physiological chain reaction just kicks right off. First, your blood circulation noticeably slows down as gravity pulls that blood toward your feet. Second, your muscular activity basically flatlines, and because your muscles aren't demanding energy, step 3 hits, your calorie burning drops to a bare minimum. Finally, your entire metabolism drops and practically grinds to a halt. And here's the crazy part. This isn't a process that takes weeks. This metabolic hibernation begins almost instantly the second you take a seat.
Let's dive a bit deeper into the biomechanics of this, specifically muscular system weakness. When you sit for long periods, you essentially just turn off your glutes in your core. And guys, these are the largest, most absolutely crucial stabilizing muscles in your entire body. When they remain inactive day after day, they begin to atrophy. They waste away. This creates a really devastating domino effect straight along your kinetic chain. Without strong core and glute support, your lower back is suddenly forced to compensate and bear weight it was never designed to carry. This leads directly to the spinal compression, the joint instability, and that chronic back and neck strain that has honestly become an absolute epidemic among office workers today.
So, the structural strain is obviously bad, but what happens to your cardiovascular system is arguably way worse. Did you know your body actually relies on a second heart located down in your legs? It's true. The soleus muscle in your calf acts as a secondary pump. Every time you walk, those leg muscles contract and squeeze your veins, pushing blood back up against gravity, right to your heart. Well, when you sit down, you entirely disable this secondary pump. Slower circulation causes blood to pool heavily in your lower body, which means your actual heart is suddenly forced to do 100% of the work just to fight gravity. This drastically increases your blood pressure and significantly raises your long-term cardiovascular risks.
And that brings us to a really crucial number here, 10 hours. The average modern adult sits for 10 hours or more every single day. Let that sink in. We often try to justify this extreme sedentarism by hitting the gym for a hard, sweaty hour after work, right? But from a strictly biological standpoint, we really need to completely dismantle this gym halo effect.
Researchers have found that a single 1-hour workout simply cannot magically undo the cellular damage of 10 unbroken hours of muscular atrophy, pooled blood, and metabolic slowdown. It just doesn't work that way. The math of human biology requires frequent interruptions to stagnation, not just one isolated burst of frantic activity at the end of your day.
Let's contrast these two drastically different lifestyles for a second. Prolonged sitting puts you in a state of the absolute lowest possible energy expenditure. Now pair that resting physical state with our typical modern habits, snacking on hyperpalatable foods while staring at a screen. Sitting creates the most dangerous possible trap for weight gain because you're combining a completely shut down baseline metabolic rate with super easy access to calorie-dense foods. It's a recipe for disaster. On the flip side, though, a lifestyle built around regular movement creates an optimal calorie burn. Your engine stays running, naturally leading to active engagement and effortless long-term weight maintenance.
Okay, we also really need to talk about the most dangerous, invisible threat that might be hiding in your bloodstream right now. To pull glucose out of your blood and use it for energy, your cells rely on a lock-and-key mechanism managed by insulin. But muscle contraction acts as a sort of amazing biological backdoor. When your muscles physically contract, they actually open up and absorb glucose rapidly, all on their own. But when you sit and remain completely inactive, your muscles fail to use that glucose. It just stays trapped in your bloodstream, forcing your pancreas into absolute overdrive to pump out more insulin. Over time, this drives severe insulin resistance, which we know is a major foundational factor in developing type 2 diabetes.
And it isn't just your physical body that's taking a hit here. There is a direct, undeniable physiological link between physical stagnation and mental stagnation. We all know that feeling of brain fog, right? That heavy mental fatigue, decreased concentration, and low motivation that seems to hit every single afternoon. Well, because prolonged sitting drastically slows your overall circulation, it literally starves your brain's frontal lobe of the oxygen-rich blood and vital nutrients it requires for sharp executive function. So that unexplained tired, unfocused feeling, it isn't always a lack of caffeine or just a bad night's sleep. Very often, it is a literal lack of physical movement dulling your cognitive edge.
This lack of movement severely impacts our emotional well-being too, deep down at the neurochemical level. As a species, we evolved to physically move our bodies in response to stress. Movement naturally metabolizes and clears out the stress hormone cortisol. When we sit in a state of physical inactivity, we're basically allowing that cortisol to just build up and stew in our systems, which is directly linked to heightened anxiety, a lower overall mood, and totally disrupted sleep architecture. Physical activity, on the other hand, actively burns off those stress hormones. It releases positive endorphins and helps regulate our nervous system to guarantee much better, much deeper rest.
So let's move right into section 2, how to protect yourself, because small changes really do have a huge impact.
Honestly, the absolute best news of this entire explainer is that you do not need to become some extreme marathon-running athlete to reverse these destructive trends. The health science clearly shows that the frequency of your movement matters way, way more than the intensity. You just need to introduce what we like to call movement snacks into your day to keep that metabolic engine humming. Just stand up every 30 to 60 minutes, literally just to restart the system, take short walks, opt for the stairs when possible, stretch out those tightening hip flexors, pace around the room while you're talking on the phone, and intentionally park farther away from entrances at the store. Your body just wants regular, gentle reminders that it is still in use. Every single step improves your circulation and forces those muscles to absorb that circulating blood sugar.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one single, incredibly powerful question to ask yourself. How many hours will you sit today? Seriously, take a moment right now to really calculate that number in your head. And more importantly, what are you going to do to break that number up? I urge you, right at this very second, to just stand up, stretch your legs, and take a physical step toward a healthier future.